So if you want to be a nasty person towards somebody else, it's very easy. Just make your profile anonymous or private, have no content or anything on it that anyone can criticize. And then log. The first one that I did actually is like the crudest, kind of roughest rendition of creative satisfaction. And so, along with discipline, effort, and hard work, you have stress. So it's just the nature of it. But it's something, these are voluntary stress tests.
And it's Tuesday evening, and we're suffering through this great Microsoft data, whatever has happened, but we're having a good time. And if you're listening to this, you don't know what I'm talking about because this happened a few days ago. But tonight is the Tile Happy Hour. The Tile Happy Hour is where we have a good time talking about the tile and stone industry. I love it. If you don't know me, my name is Craig. I'm joined by my good friend, John Tedesco, who is a brother from another mother up in New York City, which I am not from, and people make fun of me when I talk to them. Up there, they say I'm from really South Brooklyn is what Chaim says. John, do I sound like South Brooklyn?
I don't think so, Craig. Yeah, Craig is up in here in New York. We call you hillbilly. Is that an insult? I'm not sure. Is that insulting?
I don't know. Hillbilly's okay. Hillbilly, redneck, all those things I kind of grew up with, and I think it's okay. I'll embrace it for now. But John, you and I have both been in the tile industry for a very long time, and that's why we do this podcast. We just like talking about tile, talking about the things about tile, what's happening in the industry. And if you found us wherever you're watching from tonight on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, that's what we're here to do.
That's right, Craig. We're here Tuesday nights is the Tile Happy Hour. We've been doing this for quite some time now. It's been a lot of fun. We've spoken to a lot of great people. Got a lot of great people lined up. Tonight's guest, of course. And super hot in New York the last few weeks. We've had a lot of crazy things going on in the world and politics and weather. It's been oppressively hot, but it's not snow, so that's good, and I'm okay with that.
Tuesday nights where we don't have to worry about the politics and the heat. Hopefully you're in the air condition and you're sitting around thinking about how to install that new tile or what new tile to pick out for your renovation, all those things. And John, you mentioned tonight we do have a guest, and Nathan is with us tonight. And Nathan was scheduled to be with us at Coverings, but got sick and got ill. And we're finally getting around to getting him rescheduled, and he's back together. So I'm excited to talk about Nathan tonight.
Yeah, me too. So if you're watching out there, let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching this live, you're watching this on a rerun, just post, tell us where you're watching from. If you have any questions for us, just post it. Let us know. Even later on, send the message to us, and we're glad to answer any questions regarding tile installation, design, kitchens and baths, residential, commercial. It's, we just love the industry. That's why we're here. That's why we do it. We love our audience, and it's great, Craig. We get a lot of feedback from people, emails, text, private messages. And we would just love to contribute. As Craig always says, he just wants to always give back and tile the world. And, we just want to spread the tile love around the globe. And we kind of gravitate to people that are like-minded, like our guest tonight, who's like-minded, also extremely talented. And, I'd love to bring him on.
Yeah. So, let's bring on Nathan. Nathan, I don't know if he prefers to be a tile setter, an artist, content creator. Just by following him online, I think you do it all. Nathan, welcome to the Tile Happy Hour.
I'm happy to be here. That was a wonderful introduction.
Nathan.
Thank you.
Great. Where are we finding you tonight?
I'm in Canton, Ohio, in my basement.
You're in Canton, Ohio.
So an hour south of Cleveland.
And which title do you call yourself? What's your elevator pitch?
I'm a second generation tile setter. my dad put tools into my hands. I think we often think about alternative careers or choices, directions that our lives could have gone. My life has kind of been like a scattershot thing. I've done a lot of different things. Um, and as far as a title, I don't really know. I'm a tile setter. I actually was a pastor of a church for 10 years. Um, Artist, I mean, I say artist because after you've been called that so many times, I begrudgingly have adopted the title. And that's only because internally I'm a self-deprecating person. So I've never believed in myself enough to say I'm an artist. It always just, it had a certain arrogance to it that never sat well with me. And I'm not saying it's wrong to label yourself as such. Like I said, I'm just a person who uh, at surface value, you'd see all these things I could do, and you would expect that my internal narrative reflects those abilities in terms of what I call myself, but it doesn't. I just happen to be a person who likes to do everything and uh, am very self-deprecating.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been in conversations about many different things. I guess probably over the last 6 or 8 months, and you are very humble, and but you do deserve. I'll say it. You deserve the word artist. I've seen some of the things you've done. Where I found you, actually, our CEO turned me on to you. He said he sent me your link and said I like this guy, and that's Eli. If you're watching, thanks Eli for leading us to Vision, Stone, and Tile, and Nathan. But I remember the first video I watched, you were hanging over the edge of a balcony setting tile. And me as a commercial tile setter for years, I was like, he's not tied off. There's no railing there. What's he doing? He's not going to last long.
Yeah, it was residential and in Florida, you know, it's the Wild West down there in the South. And I was hanging off the balcony, which for a guy like me who's I'm used to being low. So I would say that um, if I were to analyze the thing you said about being humble, it's probably just a direct correlation with the fact that tile guys we're just in the dirt all the time. We're just crawling around on our knees. And so over the decades, I suppose it warps your perspective a little bit. And I view life from my knees, I suppose. But that was quite the adventure for me. I was like
Well, it
20
keeps you
feet in
humble
the
for
air.
sure.
How did you get to a project in Florida from Ohio?
So I got to Florida. It was just a contact in the industry. I've been tiling now full time since I was 18. When I first started, I moved to Pensacola, Florida, and I was already trained working with my dad. So I took a tile job in Pensacola and just had I had two employers down there for the time that I lived there for 4 years. And then I moved away. I was gone for 10 plus years. And a friend of mine who was a very good subcontractor down there just had a really big job and needed to recruit some help. So he called me up and pretty straightforward how that all happened.
You know how long have you been on Instagram roughly? Like where you've had a fair amount of interaction? Is it years, months, many
I've been
years?
on Instagram for I would say at this point, it's 7 years. I think I started around 2017.
So
Um,
the reason I asked you that specifically now is because Craig mentioned before that our CEO said, "Hey, Craig, check this guy out, talk to him." And that same day or a day before, a day after that, I mentioned to Craig, I said, "Yeah, I saw this guy, and I happened to learn of you almost at the same time that our CEO said that to Craig." And I mentioned to him, I was like, "You know this guy?" I said, "No, I just saw us. She got some cool content." And it was just so weird because, I've been active on social media for a long time and you've been there for a long time. And it's just weird. And I'm wondering if there's like even connection that people I'm connected with happen to be connecting with you, and maybe, the Instagram gods connected us. But it was pretty interesting how that really happened. And your content is great. And you're talking about, how you got into the industry. And it's amazing how things have changed because you're an artist and you're an installer, but I feel that a lot of that recognition or exposure comes because of the social media. Like, your current customers see your work, but it just like 1,000-fold once you get to push it out there. And I find that really, really cool. Just seeing the little details of things. It's just really, really amazing. Have you found that social media has changed anything that you're doing? I mean, is there take a lot of time to set up cameras? You have to really think about it a lot.
So I'm a very how do I want to word this? I'm ruggedly independent, so I do pretty much everything myself, and I always overshoot with what I can accomplish. And the way that I get by with that most of the time is I don't like being overly burdened with stuff. I work I work in tennis shoes and joggers with nothing in my pockets because I like to be really lightweight. And I've always just felt kind of nimble on my toes. And the reason I say that is I believe that it's really carried through the way that I do most things in life. And so when it comes to social media, I do everything with very small mobile tripods and smartphones. I don't use equipment. I don't have cameras on the site. And it's not because I don't like equipment. I had a full frame DSLR Nikon camera for a long time. It just interrupted the flow of the workday. And for me, the number one thing has always been getting my jobs done. And social media was just this extra thing that it gave me a creative outlet of sorts. And so I would just put my phone in front of what I was doing. I would record what was happening. And then as I did that more and more, I just figured out fun ways of editing things or making small reels. I really have enjoyed just tapping into the musical side of things there too. You can put, whatever music you want to these videos. It just makes them fun. It makes them entertaining. Um, but so to answer your question, social media, for sure, it's a huge part of where my jobs come from now. It's a huge part of the artistic opportunity that I've had, the exposure, meeting so many people in the industry. I mean, almost all of it is because of social media. Um, like anything, it's a beast that few understand how to tame. It can be a very consuming thing, it can be a very challenging thing for people. Um, but I don't quite understand why silly tile videos resonate with people like they do, but they do, and I'm thankful for it.
I agreed. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that these silly tile videos do that, but you do a great job, and there's a fine balance. I mean, I'm not out on the job site every day, so I'm trying to film something in a studio to try to be helpful. But your stuff is a lot more entertaining than me just talking about it because you're actually showing what's going on, and your perspective and creative, and you know I think that social media has changed our industry. It's almost made it cool, and I've been working on that for almost 20 years because, I in my opinion, the tile industry has been a stuffy um, industry to kind of get in, and I will always thought it's an art and it should be treated that way. And I think social media has given it that outlet.
I think so. And it's funny you say that about making tile cool. I happen to be one of those people that I'm interested in everything. And, I mean, everything. I obsess. So if I find an interest in something, I just obsess over it. And I find almost everything fascinating. And I have a lot of principled kind of ideas about that too. I believe it's very important to be able to fascinate yourself in the minutia. And what I've observed though over time is that people like me, and I didn't, you are who you are. You kind of wake up one day and find yourself and say, oh, this is who I am. I don't know how I exactly became this, but this is me. Um, I'm one of those people that because I think I show such a fascination in so many different things, and I'm very open with that. And I don't want to say vulnerable because it's not really a scary thing for me to be as open as I am about the things that fascinate me. But but because I am that way, I have realized that other people enjoy that. People enjoy interacting with and watching and being entertained by a person who is just a fascinated person. So there's probably something to just being a fascinated person that makes you fascinating to other people.
Mhm.
And I could think of another word, and maybe it's parallel, but passion. Like you're passionate about it, and I think that's because fascinated is a good word, and you could see, wow, this is really cool, but you could really sense someone's passion for something, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and passion, I think, is a very important word. I don't want to get too much into the nuance of the difference of the words, but fascinated is one that I particularly like because I'm a real hippie about a lot of things, and I enjoy. So for instance, to illustrate the difference, I am passionate. I'm extremely passionate. I'm very, very high energy, energetic. I can work just like a mule nonstop. That passion comes out in everything that I do. And so my obsession over tile is extremely passionate. But the fascinated part of it is that it really requires more obsession and fascination to zoom in on details that just they captivate you, right? So it's not the passion's there for sure, but it's in combination with the fact that I find the things that I'm doing, I have a lot of energy connected to those things, but I just find them captivating. And so, therefore, downstream from that, I'll just show stuff that other people see it. Then they're like, "Oh, I guess that is an interesting thing," or whatever. It really is just being a nerd and owning that entirely.
Can I bring up an example and ask you your fascination? And I commented on this and your just overall patience. This is your personal shower that you did, and because we collaborated on this, I kind of saw some of the design, but I am fascinated by your patience. And if you know what you're looking at, the tiles that are on top of that ledge, you didn't buy them that way. You literally cut them, and is that does this kind of represent that fascination and, as John said, passion in this design?
Um, well, I suppose I'm an eclectic individual because not only am I fascinated and energetic and passionate, I'm also a creative type of person. I have a very stubborn nature when it comes to the things that artistically satisfy me. I can appreciate trend, I can appreciate style, I can appreciate things that look good according to the tastes of other people. But when it comes to myself as an individual, I'm stubbornly creative. Now, the things that I create might not be good, but I will not copy something. It just, I don't know why. I don't like that. Now, a lot of my jobs, they're put together by designers, they're put together by the clients. So I do what I'm told and I do it passionately and in a fascinated manner. But for my own shower, there was no there was no real limitation outside of the contractual structure that you and I had, Craig, because this was content that we were putting out for Tile Bar, so we worked together. So there was a pressure of sorts to get it done because it couldn't draw on for years. But I was doing this in my after hours at my own leisure. Some nights I was in my underwear, um, just because
I don't want to picture that.
yeah, well, unfortunately, I also have no shame. So that was, I blasted that out on social media to whoever the unlucky observers were. Um, but no, I made the little triangles. It seemed like a tedious and arduous task, but I wanted to do it because um, in my head, it made sense. In my head, it felt like the fitting design choice for that transition. So I worked out the math and got set up and made my jig and cut for that particular ledge there 188 triangles. And then around the niche, I doubled the size so that it would be a full piece front to back and cut another, I don't know what it was, another 80 something triangles for that.
Well, what's unique, or not unique, but if you don't think about it for a long time, and most people won't. Most people look at it and go, "Oh man, that's amazing." But you not only cut the triangles, but you also cut the triangles in alternating colors, and to give it, again, more contrast. And I also love that you bent the metal around the edge. And yes, you could have, and that is the best way to do it. But most people, even in their own shower, for my, even for me, I wouldn't have taken the time to bend the metal in three different ways. I probably just would have put it in.
Yeah, a lot of what I do really does come down to, and maybe this is the inner artist that comes out, but a lot of it does come down to what I find satisfying. And on a lot of my job sites, when the dynamic is different, you're working with a client, you're working with a budget, you're working with designers. Um, you can do these things in a satisfying way, but in my own home, it was just I me and my wife went over really every decision with the design and tried to conclude with what was the creative and satisfying choice that we could make. Because the labor of it is really irrelevant to me. I'm kind of a workhorse, and it was going to get done one way or the other. And so many of the design features in the shower, see the triangles around the niche there with the light.
Mhm.
Those are 3-inch triangles, and then the triangles on the ledge were an inch and a half. Um, but almost all these design choices revolved around creativity and satisfaction. What the aesthetic we were going for, how could we achieve that, um, knowing what my skill sets are, so the sky was really the limit for us.
It's actually pretty cool. I mean, it's a great. I enjoyed watching you go through that, and we were talking about like the details and the artistry. So you're an artist, I see in my eyes, in many different ways. So yeah, you see a completed bathroom, that's artwork, and the skill and the labor is a lot of artistry there. Then the custom part of it, yes, that's artistry there for sure, because now you're actually coming up with new ideas. But since we're paralleling this conversation into like social media, your artistry is also shown in your photographic angles, your close-ups. I find that really cool. Like I would almost rather, or let me rephrase that, I enjoy watching a super close-up of you putting a heat coil in the detraumating with that little, piece of whatever it is, roll to push it in the little grooves and watch the progress along, than looking at a picture of a completed bathroom. And wow, Craig, that's pretty good. I didn't know you didn't know I was going to say that. That's amazing. Yeah, and like that's satisfying, but it's just as satisfying as the people who like watching somebody do a box opening of their new iPhone, and they open up the box and take the razor
Mhm.
blade and open it up and unpack it, and here's the instruction manual. And there's just something, I don't know what it is. It's like almost like a personal thing. You feel like you're there with the person, and you're going through these little nuanced details. Now, most of your social media videos, I really haven't noticed, but I seem to be a lot.
Yeah. So you said a bunch of things there that I would like to speak about. Number one is photography. I love photography. Landscape photography is a passion of mine. My whole home is filled with my landscape photography. And not only that, I love all the arts, actually. I love pastels, I love acrylics, I love oils, I love charcoal drawing. I do all of that, so I'm interested in all of it. That's a very old picture, but that's an old picture of mine. This is a mosaic that I was making that Craig is showing there. But for sure, the artistry is there in my reels as well. So, there's an artistry to it. And I've gotten better at that over the years. I've made scores of hundreds of these videos at this point. But you're very much right. It's all about lighting and angles and how to get the viewer somewhere that is just the most satisfying place to be, to see this little inconsequential thing. Um, but the beauty of it is life is a series of unfolding inconsequential things. That's all that it is. It's just it's an infinite series of small moments. So if you showcase those things, turns out people, like I said, they kind of just resonate with the simplicity of it. It takes them somewhere in that short little moment that maybe they like to be for that moment.
And I'm going to that's our New York showroom, and Tile Bar has everything. Terrazzo tiles, all the way to cement tiles, and anything you can think of, LVT. And supporting them supports the tile and stone industry. It supports this podcast. John and I are thankful for the creativity of our executives and the things that we do to try to bring new things to the tile and stone industry. We're not just like any other distributor. Tile Bar is different. They are curating things you haven't seen at Home Depot and Lowe's, and maybe even a designer store in your neighborhood. So if you're looking for tile, tilebar.com, find it. It is for you. Thanks, Tile Bar, for supporting the tile and stone industry. Thanks for supporting the Tile Happy Hour. John, we were talking before about and you mentioned passion. So I asked Nathan, what are you passionate about in the tile and stone industry? And I know you kind of said, and I agree with this a little bit, or I have a little bit of this in me. I can do a lot of things very mediocrely. I'm a jack of all trades, as some people say, a master of none. But what are you passionate about in the tile and stone industry? What do you love the most? What keeps you going?
It probably speaks to what John was saying about the Italians' infatuation with design and aesthetic and creativity. I love how artistic the trade is. You think about what it is that we do. Um, well, you wanted three things from me that I was kind of passionate about in the industry, and I thought about that. And all three of them would really be non-specific reasons. They would be more for principled uh, reasons, and those would be it's kind of adjacent nature to the arts. Um, it's wild, it's kind of, the arts are kind of insane if you think about it. It's visual imagery that we're recording and through whatever the medium is, we're putting these images onto a transferable medium, right? In tile work, it's like my shower, for instance. All these geometric shapes and patterns and designs and these symmetries is very abstract. It's very derivative, and when you really dig into the nature of the arts, they touch on something I think that is universally um, like resonates within humanity. There's something that we pull from. I don't know if transcendent is the right word, but there's something that we pull from the creative place, the mysterious, whatever that it is. We pull from that, and we as humans, our civilizations they're obsessed with it. I mean, we beautify everything. I mean, we're also very good at doing a bunch of terrible things in the process, but we're obsessed with beautifying things. And when you dig into the nuts and bolts of what it is pragmatically, it's like I'm putting shapes on walls, various colors and sizes and shapes and geometrical patterns. And you really have to ask yourself what that is. And I think when you dig into those sorts of questions is when you recognize like it is very foundational to tile work that you be a creative person, because it's a very abstract and derivative thing we're doing. Now it's a lasting covering, I get that, but we in our creation of something that will last for a long, long time to cover up a wall or a floor, we didn't just do it in the most practical and pragmatic way. We choose to do it like in this little reel here with multicolored shapes and sizes and patterns. We really are flamboyant about how we doctor up the aesthetic of reality. And so I love that about tile. It's highly creative and artistic. That meshes well with the things that I enjoy.
Yeah, if you wanted
Um,
to be just pragmatic about it, you can just put 4x4 white tile on that bathroom wall and spend a lot less money, a lot less time, and it'll last just as long, right?
mhm,
And there's a time in this country where tile, before the influx of the Italian and the European products came into the market, I guess in the 70s, it was really just 4.25 inch tile, green, and maybe you'd be creative with putting the black and coral together, and maybe the mud cap would be a different color than the field tile, the base. That was the extent of being creative, because for the most part, that was just not a thing to have a bathroom and do all these really unique things with it. It was just, these are the options: 4x4 tiles, maybe some different colors, and that was it. And then there was the whole influx of, and my dad was actually part of that. He's kind of a pioneer in importing high-end Italian tile to New York in 1976, I believe. And he had found these products in Europe, and it's like, well, we need this here in America. And he and a lot of other people in the industry that were kind of in the infancy started importing Italian tile to the United States. And Italy was really ahead of the game. They were the game, like they would just, but it's in their blood, just creating these
mhm.
products, and we figured out a way how to implement it into the US. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. It really does transcend, I think, into what you're doing now.
Nathan, do you feel like the addition of social media has added more joy or less joy or more stress to to going to work every day?
um, well, more joy, yes. More stress, yes. Um, but those two things I think go hand in hand. Effort, discipline, and hard work are they hold hands with satisfaction and creative satisfaction. And so, along with discipline, effort, and hard work, you have stress. So it's just the nature of it. But it's something, these are voluntary stress tests. These are things that we do to ourselves voluntarily because we seek the satisfaction of the thing we're able to create or do. Social media for me has it's been an extreme creative boon. It's helped me in many ways more confidently express my own creative abilities, or challenge them. How can I get better, and how can I do more creative things? How can I find clients that are interested in creative things? Um, so overall, I would say it's been a net positive, and I understand that's probably it's very debatable because it's an emerging technology that our culture and the cultures around the world we're going to struggle with for a number of decades to come to understand the balance when it comes to our interaction, our screen time, our usage, and also understanding the marketing manipulation that takes place, and understanding that when you interact in social media, like you are the product of companies who have economic incentive, which I'm not saying is a negative thing. All that I'm saying is that our species as a whole is interacting with an emergent technology, and we're not necessarily the best at it yet. But we won't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and we'll look ahead. We'll try to look out into the future and understand the ways that these platforms are helping humanity. I think that they are, and I know that there's a lot of cynicism regarding social media platforms, but I view it as emergent technology that we will in time strike the right balance with.
Yeah, I definitely, or fortunately, I'm not in the position you are. I don't have to sell a product to a customer and also be judged by the social media. I think that's a balance, and I applaud you for doing that, because I would I would worry about number one, okay, I've got the customer satisfied, but are the 17 holier than thou guys that are following me online, are they going to criticize my work to death? I would I would worry about that. So I applaud you for navigating that hopefully well, and
Well,
therapy.
it's a tricky path that you have to go down, but um, I do my best to remind everyone that I'm a human being, which is a very cliche and silly thing to say, but in social media land, people forget, that it's easy to project a persona of perfection into the world when you control the aesthetic of the narrative, when you control what it is that you are putting out there. It's very easy to manipulate that and control how that's perceived. And so if you wanted to be a nasty person towards somebody else, it's very easy. Just make your profile anonymous or private, have no content or anything on it that anyone can criticize, and then lob lob all the cannonballs you want into the person of your choosing. The way that I've navigated it from the beginning is I will showcase that I'm doing my very best. To the best of my knowledge, I'm doing something as best as I can. And I've been doing it long enough at this point. I've just built up a certain level of confidence when it comes to mistakes and things going south and the different scenarios and contexts that you run into. I mean, I've seen it all pretty much at this point. So none of it really intimidates me because usually the pickles that I find myself in, I've been there before. And so you can see the way out of these scenarios. And usually when people are coming to you and hurling insults and criticisms, it speaks to a certain either inexperience or a certain immaturity, and which is it's fine. I understand that. Not everyone is going to use these platforms in a way that I approve of, but that's not for me to say.
Yeah. Well,
So
you talk about immaturity. Like somebody could post something negative about a post, and then let's say a year later, that same person may be a slightly different person and not post that. And so you're always going to find somebody on social media that's in a bad mood, or they're currently immature. Maybe they will mature, or maybe they're mature and later on become cynical and hate the world. And here they are on a tile guru website or social media and want to criticize. There are a lot of local, like on Facebook, there's a whole bunch of Facebook groups talking about tile and tile fails and I just, and a lot of contractor groups locally, nationally, and I just cringe when someone posts something about a project that they did, and these guys just jump in, and at that moment that person wasn't looking for, they were asking advice on A, and then they're chiming in on B, C, D, and E that they see in the picture. And then someone jumps in and says, give the guy a break. And then it's like an argument and a fight. And it's just like, I'm not even necessarily talking about the tile pages. There's, general contractor pages. I view a lot of those. Yeah. But it's kind of like life right now. There's no water cooler. It's all social media. That's where everyone bumps into each other.
yeah, and it's an easy place because we also, it's difficult not to assume that the people that you're interacting with are not of the same, we'll say, psychological development and or level of maturity or whatever. You're dealing with people around the globe who are in an infinite number of contexts. So
right.
If I'm happy with my scenario and I'm happy with my internal life and I'm happy with the externals that I can observe in my life, um, I'm not going to go to social media to roast someone, to criticize someone, to really just make someone have an unpleasant day. I'm because I have no need to do that. And so if I observe that behavior in somebody else, it's really only a pointer. It's just an evidence in my mind that you're not in a good way. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of people. So I've personally just never been that enticed in playing that game. Usually when people criticize me, I will reply in the most normal way that I can think to, in the most level-headed way that I can think to,
Right.
or I'll try and make it somehow humorous just to diffuse the situation and let people realize, like, look, it's just social media. These are just
Right.
silly videos. I mean, we're just trying to do a trade and a craft here as best as we can. It's easy to forget that, when things are anonymous, and who knows? For a lot of people, I'm sure it's a therapeutic outlet because what's the old story about, like, the boss yells at the employee goes home and yells at his wife yells at the kid yells at the dog, and the dog bites the guy. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of people. They just have no opportunity to express their internal grief or anxiousness or dissatisfaction with what they've been able to do in their life. And I'm not criticizing. It's just that when you really try and boil it down to what's going on with people, that they think it's okay to behave in this really nasty way.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an unfortunate scenario, I think, in our
Yeah.
country right now, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, and unfortunately, before you sign up for one of those apps, they don't give you an IQ test or anything like that. They just anybody in the world can do that. Before we go, we're running out of time. Nathan, you can say whatever you want, but I want you to tell me about how you came up with your mountainscapes, how that developed. I know that I saw that you sold some, and our buddy down in California just bought one for, and I love this. I love that it takes into account your creativity, artisticness, and tile work, and puts that all in one big package. Can you give me the elevator pitch, and also we'll let everybody know if you like this, that I'm sure you'll sell them one.
yeah, I will sell them one. That's ultimately a goal of mine, is to sell many, many more of these. I thoroughly enjoy the process. At this point, I've sold 15 or 16 of them. So it has some steam, which is good, but I would like it to continue to pick up steam. Um, it came about because I went to Wyoming to do a project for a contractor's personal home, and he had a beautiful, I mean, just gorgeous home overlooking a river with the Absaroka Mountains in the background. This is in Cody, Wyoming, and he had a long horizontal niche, and we just had the idea, like, let's do something creative in the back of the niche. On the floor of the shower, we created kind of a river with the pebbles, and so we just decided, like, this would look really cool with some mountains. Well, him and his wife got married at Grand Teton National Park, so they had all these wedding pictures with the Grand Tetons in the background. That one right there is Mount Fuji that I'm working on. Um, anyway, so I just made one on the spot. I drew it out on his master bedroom floor, right on the Advantech subfloor, and said, what do you think if we just do something like this? And started moving the pebbles around, and it made sense. The first one that I did actually is like the crudest, kind of roughest rendition of these mountainscapes. I've done more of them, so they've gotten better and better the more that I've done. But it was just a collaborative effort with a contractor who also was a creative type, and that's what we came up with. So, and that first one that I did, that shower is just stunning. Every post that I've posted of that, or reel that had to do with that shower, just went uber viral because it was just a really cool shower.
Yeah, I remember when you posted it originally. I'm not sure if I saw it originally, but it was one of the first things I looked at, and I was like, man, how does this guy make any money? You can't make any money making those things. But
Yeah,
if you have the clientele that wants a custom, and as you were talking, I was like, I wonder if he could do an ocean. I'd love to have an ocean.
I could
But
do anything. I just am about to start the biggest one I've done so far. It's going to be 4 feet wide and 7 feet tall, and it's going to be a mountain scene. That's the other thing I enjoy about this. I have done everything that I've wanted to do, and they all just sell. So no one's really telling me what to do. I just think this would be cool, and I do it, and it sells. I got a
That's
giant
great.
bonsai tree. I've done multiple different mountain landscapes. Um, I've not tackled the ocean yet, but after I do the one I'm doing now, maybe I'll make one of the ocean.
You know what, Nathan? It's actually come full circle because the original origins of tile really were for creative purposes, not because
Right.
tile is hygienic and we're putting it in an operating room and that's the reasons why tile is good in those sanitary conditions. But for the most part, when people did frescoes and paintings a long time ago, those things don't last. So figured out how to make it out of clay, heat, water, some pigments, and all that good stuff. So you're kind of you keeping the tradition going. You have a vision tile. It's really cool. And Craig, we'd love to get our viewers his contact information, so we'll include that in this podcast if somebody wants to reach out. If you're in his area for where he tiles, I'm sure you're open to doing some commission work anywhere in the world if it makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then your artistry, your mountain scenes, and all those other things, those could be shipped, right? You don't need to be on site. You can send them out. So that's pretty cool. I've learned a lot from you. I think I feel the three of us are very similar in many ways, and in our passion and in our love for the product, but also personality wise, a lot of what you do does come out, and it's really been great talking to you.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We will put your Instagram. That's at least I think that's probably the best way to get in contact with
Right.
you and find you. We'll put that in the show notes. And if you want to commission Nathan to do something that's going to turn out amazing, and I know just from working with you, and I appreciate you partnering with me and kind of fumbling through the influencer stuff. As I navigated that, I appreciate that, and I look forward to doing more of that and having you as a partner with us to do some stuff in the future.
Absolutely. Well, so this has been a great happy hour. It's always happy talking about tile. We do this once a week. Tile Happy Hour, Craig Cahoon and myself, Jonathan Disco. Great to have you on board, Nathan. And I just like to wish everybody peace, health, and happiness.
Yep. And we will see you next week. We got an exciting rest of the year planned. John and I are headed to Florida. We'll probably do an episode there.
Yeah.
Nathan's going to continue to keep working and doing some stuff. And we're going to always keep learning together and tile the world.